Okay. Okay, Peter. Go ahead.
My name is Peter Less. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, because I call myself an interpreter, a linguist, a cook, and many other things that I know a little bit about.
Where were you born?
But I didn't get to it.
I
was born in Königsberg, East Prussia, in eastern Germany. My father was a well-known attorney. My mother was in business with her mother, my grandmother, and we lived there happily for years and years. My parents were born in Königsberg. My grandmother was born nearby in a suburb of Königsberg. So we were East Prussians. When Hitler came along, times changed. The good life was over. He became impossible.
Did you have siblings?
I had one sister who perished also. All my family perished under the Nazis. I had a father, a mother, and one sister, no brothers.
Okay.
And one grandmother who was still alive.
Can you tell me a little more when the Nazis came in, how that affected you and your schooling? And
when the Nazis came in, I was kicked out of school. Obviously, I was undesirable suddenly.
Okay.
Eventually, my parents sent me to Switzerland to complete my education, since I couldn't go to school anymore. That saved my life. That's why I'm still alive and kicking today. In Switzerland, I got a good education. First of all, I had to learn French real quick, because in Geneva they speak French. That's the French part of Switzerland called Suisse Romande. I went to school and
keep talking.
I went to the University of Geneva in Switzerland.
How old would you have been at that time?
About 18.
Okay.
I lived in Switzerland. Then I was planning to go back to my parents. I was too young. I was not even 17. The war started, so I decided I'm not going back. Wars are not healthy. So I stayed in Switzerland. I got a free education at the university. And after a while, I was admitted to the École d'Interprètes, the Interpreters Academy. So I learned French and English, and German I already knew. So eventually, I became an interpreter. And apparently, the Americans who tested dozens and dozens of people to be interpreters at the post-war war crime trials, they picked me because I had a clear enunciation of the language. I didn't mumble, and I didn't swallow the last syllable of every sentence as most people do. Clear enunciation was the order of the day. So they took me as an interpreter and translator into the Nuremberg trials, where I was facing the whole rogues gallery. Himmler, Hess, Kaltenbrunner, Frank, and so on and so on. You may not remember all the names, I do. So I became an interpreter, which in those days was state-of-the-art as far as the instruments were concerned. By today's advance of technology, It was the most primitive thing you could figure out. The microphone was not a little clip-on on your lapel. The microphone was solidly bolted with 4 bolts in the middle of the table. So you had to sit in the most uncomfortable position like this to talk into the microphone. If you turned right or left, your voice was gone. They didn't have the microphones and the techniques, the sound effects that we have today. That wasn't more than half a century ago. Everything then was state-of-the-art. Today was most primitive. Museum pieces, you might call them. But at that time it was fabulous. It was the latest, state-of-the-art. So I became a court interpreter. I had to interpret French, German, no, English, German mostly, French only when the French person was sick or on leave or something. So I interpreted every word of the trial. I had a good ear, I still do, and that was my job. Of course, the witnesses sometimes did not speak clear French or clear English or clear German. They were mumbling. They had strange accents. They were very difficult to follow. I had to push a button that flashed a light so they stopped talking, and I say, off the record, please speak loudly or not so loud, or enunciate, speak slowly, enunciate clearly, so these primitive microphones will catch every word you say. It is very important that we understand what you are saying. Okay, for 2 or 3 minutes they complied, they talked slowly and clearly and less of an accent. But after a couple of minutes they fall back into their usual manner of speaking, as most people would. You remind them to do something and they do it. They're trying to be helpful, but eventually they talk the way they like to, that they're used to. They don't follow directions very long. Has nothing to do with goodwill. It's habits that control, not the goodwill. So I went through the first trial of the major war criminals. I didn't want the other 9. They lasted till 1949. They lasted 3 years, and I wasn't ready to sit there 3 years to translate or interpret. Now, the wording was captured by microphones. They were not today's type of microphones. They were also scratchy. And if they didn't speak clearly, the microphone wouldn't render anything clearly. So I had to figure out what they said. Then the stenographer, they didn't have tape recorders, they had stenographers that did everything. In the evening, they gave me back the whole trial for the day, the 3 hours morning and the 3 hours afternoon. And I had to put them into printable language for the record. So today you can get those. They're the records in Washington, D.C. at the State Department. So I corrected some of the mumbling and some of the not so good speech, make them clear. A little censorship goes a good long way, and that was it. That was my evening job.
Okay. And then the following day?
The following day, the same thing all over again. One had to a little bit gently control the speaker, to speak slowly, to speak clearly. They mumble. What did you say? So eventually they knew what I needed. I needed to understand, otherwise I couldn't translate it. It worked reasonably well. And it's in the records now. Interesting people came as witnesses, victims. They told us what the Nazis did to them. All in the record, in their own language. Now, Polish and Russian were not my languages. Some didn't know French, and some didn't know English, and some didn't know German. And I didn't know all those other languages. I knew French and English and German, but that was all. I was not a multilinguist.
Oh.
So we had to bring in interpreters.
Yeah, for the different languages.
For the different languages. I didn't speak all of those languages. I don't speak a word of Russian.
Oh. Or Polish, or Polish.
If Russian was the only language they knew, that was the language. So we had another interpreter. Those are technical difficulties, but we surmounted the difficulties. And it went into the record, and that was it.
That must have been a very interesting experience you had during those years.
Yes, it was interesting, but it was hard, it was difficult, because they don't speak at the controllable speech, they or they speak very slowly, which is okay. Very slowly you can handle. Very fast. Some languages are notoriously spoken in a faster way than others. Yeah. For instance, Spanish speakers say, you can barely follow them, but they do. It's their usual everyday way of speaking their language. And you're not gonna change their lifetime habits.
How about the French people? How did they speak?
The French speak fine. I spoke French all day long. French was fine. Was like my mother tongue.
Were they fast speakers?
No, they were very well, very articulate. It's a beautiful language to begin with. It's a pleasure to listen to and to speak it.
So easy for you to understand what they're saying.
Of course. I spoke French all day long. I was living in a French area. When I go to buy a quart of milk, I had to speak in French because they didn't know any German or any English. So, while we lived in Geneva, after a while, my wife and I spoke French to each other because it was more convenient. Professionally, we had to all day. She worked for the International Red Cross in Geneva, had to speak French all day long, and I spoke. So we spoke French to each other finally, even though German was our native language.
Can we back up just a little and talk
Sure.
a little bit about the town you were born in Germany?
Oh.
And were you part of a religious, was there a lot of Jewish people in the town or your school, or did you experience anti-Semitism?
Religion is the opium of the people. Religion is no good. Religion misleads people, gives them illusions, brainwashes them.
Yeah, that is not good.
It is not good. It doesn't help. In the name of religion, more people were killed than in other reasons. Think of the Kreuzritter.
Yes, all through the years, 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, and they went to the Holy Land and they killed each other for the name of their God. Their God was the only right God. All the other gods are bad. What kind of a bullshit is that? That's what they preach.
Yeah.
Their God is the only one. You're a sinner if you don't believe in my God. I know. I have it straight from my God.
So anyhow, was there a religious Jewish community, large Jewish community where you were born in that town?
There was a Jewish community, not very large. There was a synagogue. The last time I saw a synagogue was my bar mitzvah. That's the last time. I don't want to stay away from these places. They're also phony. The rabbi preaches you all kinds of goodness, and then he goes out and goes drinking or something. He commits all the sins that he thunders against. They're all phony.
Easy to be an atheist.
It's sure. It makes more sense.
It does, yeah.
But to not being an atheist, it requires a leap of faith, which you don't have, which they try to instill in you. But if you have any brains at all, it goes in one ear, out the other.
Can you tell me about your wife? When you met your wife? Where you met her?
I met my wife in Geneva.
And you were how old at that time?
Oh, I was married for 64 years, so I was about 20 or so. Met her in Geneva. She was at the International Red Cross handling prisoner of war records because she spoke French.
Okay.
And she was from Winterthur, the insurance capital of the world. Winterthur, you've heard that, haven't you?
No.
That's the insurance capital of the world. All big life insurance companies have their headquarters there.
Oh.
Winterthur.
Yeah.
They have it here. Look it up in the phone book. Their insurance. Biggest insurance. And
so they are still doing well?
Oh, they're doing well. In Switzerland, they all do well. They're too smart to go into war. Wars are not healthy for men, women, and children. I tell you that. The Swiss don't believe in war as a means to settle disputes.
Yeah.
They believe in negotiation. The Swiss haven't had a war since Napoleon. 1812 was the last time they had a little war, not because they wanted to, but because Napoleon wanted them. And he came in and occupied it.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
1812. They stay out of wars because they have decided that if you win a war, the loser will come back at you after rearming. So it's an endless nonsense. Wars never settle anything permanently. You conquer a little piece of territory, they rearm and they come back and kick you out again. It doesn't make sense. The earth is a tiny little speck of dirt which is the home of all mankind. It doesn't make sense to assume that you control it. It controls you. You come from the earth and you right back to the earth. You think you control it, but that's one of those megalomaniac illusions that human beings nurture.
Can you tell me a little bit? I would just go back again a little about your
wife's
family, that's right.
Well, my father was an attorney.
Yeah.
Well known in Königsberg, East Prussia.
How do you spell that name of that town?
Königsberg, like the way it sounds, K-O-E and so on. The way it sounds.
Okay, I didn't know it was that easy.
It's easy.
To spell.
Yeah, it's the way it sounds. It's not like in French where it sounds one way and it's spelled the other way.
Yes, that's what I was wondering.
Not in German. You pronounce every noun the way it's spelled and the way it looks printed. German is a difficult language for those who haven't studied Latin.
But I understand it's kind of like Yiddish.
The other way around. Yeah, but it's a little bit, but you don't understand it unless you know it, unless you learn it. You think you understand it. It doesn't mean what it sounds like.
But that's a language you spoke. Well, you spoke German when you were growing up.
In the family. That was the only language we knew. We didn't speak Hebrew, or we didn't speak Yiddish, and we didn't speak English or French. We spoke always German, and a very refined, articulate German, as I remember. My father was a highly educated man. He wrote his dissertation in Latin. At that time, in the 1890s, you had to write your doctoral dissertation still in Latin. The year afterwards, you could write it in your own language, in German. But he had to write his doctoral dissertation in Latin.
Oh, do you have any records of that?
I learned Latin too for 9 years, once a week. 5 times a week, an hour, 1 hour a week.
Oh.
We learned Latin. We learned Greek. Andra moi ene pemusa polutropon hosmala pola planchte epai troi esiron person. We learned that. That was the beginning of the Odyssey in the original language. Today's Greeks wouldn't understand a word I'm saying. The Greek today would say, it sounds Greek to me, but I don't understand what you're saying. So I tell them, look, 3,000 years your great-great-great-great-grandfather spoke that way. Oh, he did? I said, he sure did. That was the only language he spoke. Because I know ancient Greek. And I know Latin. So it goes together. The education in Europe was excellent. They learned things that were useful and some of the things that were less useful. The education in pre-Hitler Germany was excellent, much better than here. Here they learn the things that they think are useful to earn a living. They're utilitarian. You learn the things that you need to earn a living later. In Europe, you learn the things for learning's sake, to get a little bit of wisdom into your silly head. You learn something about life and duties, and to make life interesting for other people. You learn things that you really should know, but they don't help you earn a living. So here we forget all those things that are not designed to help you earn a living.
Yeah,
that's a big difference.
That's too bad.
What you learning has to be, what you learn has to be useful. In Europe, the learning has to be useful to train your mind, not to earn a living. To think, you learn how to think. Here, you learn what to think. They teach you what to think in the so-called education. Big difference, I assure you.
Yes. I wonder if it will ever turn around and where the kids will learn differently.
They learn what's useful. To here they learn what's useful to earn a living. Or you learn a trade, you become a butcher, you become a baker, you become a doctor, you become a lawyer. Everything that you learn is designed to earn a living.
But no more. No more than that.
No more. And it doesn't broaden your horizon to see the big picture that you have to see to live a full life. You have to educate the gray matter here, not just the hands to do this and that. You sure have to have a living. To make a living, you have to learn a trade or a profession. That's understood. But that's not the whole life. There's more to life than doing your job.
Yeah.
That was our attitude. But it's all different here.
Changed. That's one thing you can count on. Things change. Not always for the better.
No. Here, the design, the hope is to learn things that help you to live, earn a living, to eat and drink. be happy, have a family. But mostly when it comes to train your brain, is they teach you what to think rather than how to think. We had to learn how to think, not brainwash what to think.
That's very interesting.
And life is different, can be different. We have one-track mind. We do everything right, obviously. We are Superman. We can't make mistakes. Everybody else makes a mistake. Something goes wrong. Oh, he did it. He did it wrong. That's why things blew up. Always the other guy. Never me. I'm infallible. I can't do any wrong. The other guy made the mistakes. Life is a suite of events and adventures that we have to learn to navigate.
Yes.
And the most important thing is that we learn how to think, not be brainwashed what to think. They like that. They like the simple answers to complicated questions. And don't rattle the boat. The status quo is the best of all possible situations. Don't try to change or to improve. It's perfect the way it is. There's no way of making it better than what we do. Big bullshit.
That's not right. Hey, back to your mother and father. Did you learn any details about them?
Oh,
because
yeah.
They sent you to Geneva. They sent you to...
good schools.
Yes, but have you heard what happened to them? You know that
the Nazis killed them.
Yes, but
my sister, my grandmother, and my parents. Nazis killed them all. The Red Cross found that all out, all the details. First they were sent to Theresienstadt, that was the concentration camps, and then they disappeared. And I got the news they passed away or something. They got killed, like all the others that they caught. The Nazis were bad news, I assure you. They were all killed. My sister, my one grandmother who was alive, the other died a natural death before. I lost everyone. I'm the one who got away.
But you were lucky.
I was
You were lucky that your parents sent
Plus,
you.
I had an instinct. I smell a rat long before it smells.
Oh, wow. You had a good smeller.
I had a good instinct. Something wasn't quite kosher, as they say.
Could your parents have gotten away also?
Of course you could have.
They could have, but they didn't.
They had a nice swastika on their passport. They could go to Switzerland without a visa or anything. Anything with the Switzerland, with the Hakenkreuz, Croix Gammée, the swastika was welcome anywhere in Europe. But don't have a J for Jew in it. Then you can't go anywhere. There are all kinds of excuses why you can't go there. I was too smart. I forgot to turn in the passport for the Nazi officer to put a J in. I would have been stuck. I forgot.
You forgot on purpose?
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, sure. I forgot to turn in the passport so you can put a J. So it was a nice swastika on it, and that was a sesame open, all doors. Swastikas were good in Europe.
But not the J.
Is
that what your parents said?
The J was a thing that stopped everything. The J was a death sentence.
And that's what your parents had, evidently.
I don't even know whether they had. My parents got deported to Theresienstadt in Czechoslovakia.
That's the last thing you remember of your parents?
No. I got some postcards. I have 2 postcards, heavily censored from the concentration camp. They could write 1 or 2 each month. And so I got 2 and I still have them. Oh, it's wonderful here. The sun is bright and the air is sweet. And bullshit. Because they were censored. They didn't mail them, especially not abroad. So I got those postcards, the harmless postcards. They're all lies. They were writing what they had. The food is good. They practically starved. They got bread and water. But they had to write how good everything was. Otherwise, either you got that lie in the mail, or they never left Germany. They never left Nazis. So they had to fill me up with lies how beautiful everything was. I know better.
And you knew it. When you got those postcards, that things were not as written in the postcards.
Yeah, and some they wrote on purpose in bad German. They were highly educated. They knew better. They wrote, "Die Türmen sind sehr schön." Türmen is a slang in East Prussia for running away. That was their way of running away. Because the censor who reads it, he says, "Oh, these stupid people, they write bad German." They knew better German than those guys. Türmen. That was my notice. So I went to Switzerland. Switzerland, I got a good education. First of all,
Did you have any family in Switzerland? What about the extended family of your mother and father? Did you ever know anything about them?
Nothing. One grandmother was dead long before the Nazis came. The other died a natural death after the Nazis came. She owned a business and the house she lived in, a 3-story building. And my father wrote that one morning when he came to visit, he came to have breakfast with her, found her dead on the floor, heart attack. Got
natural cause.
Natural cause. She wasn't murdered. She owned a nice store, men's and boys' clothing store. 3-story building, 2 stories were the store, the 3rd she lived in. But she owned the house, so she had a nice life.
How old do you think she was when she died?
Oh, I knew how old she was. I knew when she was born.
Oh.
She was born December 20th, 1870.
Okay.
I have all the stats, and I know my grandfather was born in 1856.
Oh.
He was already dead. He died when I was 1 year old in 1921. Oh, I have it all in my head.
It's incredible that you remember these things.
Those things I remember. What I had for dinner yesterday, I can't remember.
You have a lot of company. Most people,
I had a nice life in Königsberg, the capital of East Prussia, the capital of Immanuel Kant. You've heard of Immanuel Kant?
Of course, yes.
That was our home philosopher, and his grave was in our schoolyard that I saw at every intermission in school. I saw the grave of Immanuel Kant.
So,
2 things give me awe, he said. One is the starry sky above me, the other is the moral law within me. That's what Immanuel Kant said.
Very interesting, yeah.
Well, he was our Königsberg philosopher. Königsberg was a well-educated, pretty rich city. We never saw an illiterate.
It was a small Jewish community in that town?
I don't know much. We had nothing to do with Jews. We know there was a Jewish community and there were 2 synagogues, one Orthodox and one liberal.
Oh.
But we never went.
Okay.
They preached nonsense. Be good children.
But you had a bar mitzvah, so that was
the last thing, the last Jewish thing I ever had. Except I got kreplach once to eat. It tasted good.
Yeah, it's good. You still have it. You could. You have it to
I
this
don't,
day.
I'm a total atheist. I think for most people, not me, for most people it is good. It gives them solace. It gives them hope. It gives them something to live by. It's very useful. But for others, it's opium of the people.
Yeah.
It keeps them in line. It's a control mechanism. Religions are control mechanisms to keep people in line, not to steal and to murder and to rob. That's what religion is good for. I don't ignore that. I find it very useful. For me it's meaningless, but for other people they need to be checked. They ought to be scared to do wrong, scared to lie, scared to do all the bad things that the good book tells them not to do. It's good for them because they don't have enough self-discipline.
Yeah.
If I don't have self-discipline, what would stop me from stealing from you if I can reach? Nothing. You need a conscience. You need in your own to be a moral being, to know without big religion and big preaching what's right and what's wrong. That's a moral law within me that tells me don't steal, don't rob, don't lie unless it's necessary.
Don't murder.
Don't murder is a taboo. But even some of the things that they teach us have to be taken with a grain of salt. I give you an example. Don't lie. That's a sin. Well, if the Nazis knock at your door and say, hey, we hear that you're hiding a Jew, bring him to us. He says, what do you mean, a Jew? We've never seen a Jew. You saved his life. You lied. Didn't you do a good job?
Smart man. Yeah.
That's how you have to use your life. Don't take all the do's and don'ts. There are exceptions. Use your head to do the right thing. Don't use the preaching of your parents, of your teacher, of your neighbors, of your friends. You do the right thing because you have a moral law within you. If a Nazi comes to your house and you're hiding in the closet, praying for their life, and he says, you hiding any Jews? You have to lie to be a good person. You have to say, Jews? I never met a Jew, they're no good. Then he goes away. He says, oh, he's all right. He hates Jews.
Unless he comes in and checks and looks at all the doors.
No, they don't. They take your word for it. Especially if you sound convincing. Make a little derogatory. Jews? Who wants Jews? Make derogatory remarks so he doesn't feel the need to check.
Yeah, it depends on how you say it. You could say it like if you hesitate in saying, "Well, I am not hiding."
No. Then you're stupid. Then you're beyond. Then you're beyond help. You have to act appropriate to the circumstances. You have to do the right thing because there's the moral law without you tells you what to do and when to lie and when not to lie. So,
Peter, you're doing good.
Well, and don't know, I'm doing the best I can.
I just wonder what else to talk about your wife. Let's see.
Yeah, I met my wife.
Your wife's family, and was she Jewish?
No, she was a Protestant.
Okay.
But she never went to church, and I tried to encourage her. She said she gave up the church, and I felt so bad about it. I felt bad about it. I said, there's nothing wrong. Go to church on Sunday if it is good for you psychologically. I come with you. I have no objection. I sit in the pew. I don't know what the preacher is preaching, but I'd be more than glad to come and sit next to you in church.
That should have made her feel good.
It did, but it didn't work. She never went to church. She thought, even though I loved her and would have gone to church without hesitation, she figured, why should she do that? Since I didn't want her church or my church or anybody's church, she gave it up. She didn't do me a favor, but she thought she didn't. I praise her for having good thoughts.
I assume that she never regretted it. I'm sure.
I hope not. We were happily married for over 60 years, 64 years.
That's a record.
I don't think we may have been angry at one another, but we never had a nasty word. She never called me any names, and I sure didn't call her. We had a wonderful life.
That's wonderful.
And we had 3 girls, and they're all smart and successful. And they have our attitudes.
Ah. I don't know that you could go to a school and learn how to have common sense. Do they teach that? They don't teach that in school.
You know, in school they teach things that help you earn a living.
Yes.
When you're in girls' school, they teach you how to knit.
Yep. Useful
things. If you're a boy, they teach you how to use a hammer without clapping it on your thumb. But all the useful things, not nonsense, but life wisdom, nobody teaches.
So what if that's something you have or you do not have, or you were born with? And
you were born, you have used your head to think how to think, and they try to teach you what to think, what's a good thing to do, and that's fatal.
Yeah.
You don't believe what they tell you, you believe what you know by instinct is the right thing. In other words, use your noodle.
Yeah.
Figure it out for yourself. Get some help. There's some much smarter people than we are, so we get some advice if we need it. Just like we go to the doctor if it hurts.
Yep.
He knows better than we do. He has trained for 100 years. Or so it seems to him or her.
You know, speaking of training, what do you think of the Nazis training their children to, it seems that they are brainwashing the kids to hate Jews, or, you know, that's like another story.
They all teach their kids their own morals.
Yeah. But that's not good.
Not just the one who teach things that we don't like, but the ones who teach what we like are no good either. You have to let them develop their own thought mechanisms. You can't brainwash them even if they teach the good things. You can't learn it just from being preached. You learn it by experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You have to... life is an adventure, and you have to go through with it and figure things out for yourself. It doesn't mean you should listen to grown-ups or to people wiser than we. By all means, listen to all opinions and then form your own. It's okay to listen to somebody whose attitudes we don't like. They're too rigid.
Yeah.
They're too one-sided, too narrow-minded. So you listen to them. Doesn't make you stupid, Nothing that anybody says makes you stupid, but something that somebody says may make you wise.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's life. It's an adventure.
it sure
With your
is.
eyes and ears open and your mind open. Don't take things on a preconceived opinion because your grandfather taught you that.
Yeah.
Grandfather may be a nice guy, but he may not have the right ideas. He was loving.
Yeah.
You have to, when it comes down to it, you listen to everybody, but don't copy anyone. Make up your own mind. That's your freedom.
Well, you could be inspired by some of the things you
Sure,
hear.
sure.
It's
Never
good.
turn any advice down. Say, it's nonsense. Listen to it. You don't have to follow it if it doesn't meet with your view and your understanding of the right thing. So
This
what?
thing keeps slipping away.
Oh,
What happened to it?
I didn't move.
No, I know it. This I didn't clip it strong enough.
Let me clip it.
I'm going to do it like that. Get it right here.
Yeah, and
That's good.
it won't fall down.
That's good.
And I won't move much, so it can't fall down. If I jump around,
No, you're doing good. So your wife's
my wife.
family. What do you know about your wife's family? Was she close to her family? Where was she born?
She was born in Winterthur, the insurance capital
Oh,
in Switzerland, near Zurich.
okay.
And her father was an official of the city. He was not the top head, but he was working in the Bürgermeister, in the city hall.
Okay.
Stiff, full of goodwill, but stiff and aloof.
Was that like most Germans?
No, he was not German, he was Swiss.
Swiss.
My wife was Swiss. Well, there is no such thing as characteristic. There is.
You learned that at the trials.
I learned a lot, believe me. I learned more than I learned in school. Life is the best teacher.
Yes.
Life with open eyes and open ears.
This would be a happier world if more people were like that.
Well,
I'm sure. I mean,
we're a little short on wisdom and long on talk.
I think if people follow the golden rule, that must be something that
Yeah,
would be happy to keep people.
They go to church every Sunday and pray for hours, and on Monday morning they start to sin.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Well, that's a human nature. But human nature has to depend on self-control, not external control, not to be told constantly, but figure out for yourself what's good for you and the people around you and your neighborhood, your city, and figure out what's a good thing to do that creates a happier life. You know, I lost everything, everybody I ever was near, father, mother, grandfather, grandmother. Grandfather was dead before Hitler. My only sister, everybody. But I'm reasonably happy because crying doesn't help, doesn't bring the dead back. You have to get over it. You can mourn them, but you can't make your life miserable for yourself and all those around you.
But you can try hard to be a good person.
That's exactly right. Try to do the good thing for others that makes you feel good. It's for your own benefit. Because if you do the wrong things, you feel miserable. It doesn't make you happy. You say, I shouldn't have done that. I was stupid. Why did I do this? That's not a good situation to be in. I was lucky. I didn't do it. That's the way to feel.
Yep.
I had temptation, but I didn't fall for it.
That's smart. That is smart.
Yeah, sure, everybody has temptation. If you walk down the street and some old lady walks 20 feet ahead of you, and her bag is open, and out fall $5 bills or so. Well, you'd be a very happy person if you yell, hey, wait, pick up and give her the money, instead of saying, oh, she didn't notice it, I put it in my pocket.
How can some people live with themselves if
Well,
they do that?
some
That's
people
pretty sad.
some people think
That's
they're
sad.
smart. They just got $5 for nothing. Put it in their pocket, and the old person doesn't know till she gets home that she lost her $5. But you're much better to cry, hey, you
Yeah.
lost your money.
Yep.
And she'll be happy, and she'll make you happy.
That makes such good sense, and it's certainly the right thing to do, for sure.
You know,
For sure, that's it.
there is so much reward for doing the right thing,
Yep, I believe that. I believe
because
that.
you can live with yourself. You can't get out of your own skin. And you can congratulate yourself to having done the good thing instead of the, I wouldn't say bad thing, the convenient thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Tell me,
living is an art.
It
Living
is.
the good life is an art. I live a good life.
Interesting. That's interesting that you express it that way. And I don't know. I believe that.
Sure.
It's true. It's true.
Because you make yourself satisfied with yourself. You're not ashamed.
Yeah, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't look at a person that you don't like.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, can you tell me, I know in the beginning you said when you were born, the year you were born.
I was born on the longest day of the year. And I bragged about it in school, and I got banged.
You got hit on the
I
head.
got beaten up. I was born on June 21, 1920.
1920. Wow.
So that makes me 92 years young.
Yes, years young.
I
You
can-
will always stay young.
I can stay young. I do push-ups. I drive at night without any problem.
You need your glasses, I'm sure, for the driving.
I use my glasses for not driving too. I use my glasses all day long.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I need it. I got glasses when
For distance. For
no.
distance,
When the reading in the telephone book made me twist. I couldn't read. The fine print in the telephone directory is written in very small print. So this is my first and only glasses. At 92.
That's wonderful. That's
I only had it for a short while, relatively. So now I got the glasses, I can read the fine print. And I
think
can
that's
drive
great.
night and everything.
That's wonderful. We have about 5 more minutes,
Okay.
and I wonder if we could start another tape or we could keep talking. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about
My home.
when you left. When you left
My
to
home?
come to your home, or to when you left to come to America.
Oh,
And
that's.
is that another story?
I come to America because
And that was in what year would that have been?
47, I think.
That's
I
when
was
You were through with Nuremberg.
I was at Nuremberg, so they said, come to America, because I had no place else to go. The Swiss wouldn't naturalize
You had no
me.
family. I mean, you were by yourself.
No, I had a wife.
I know, but I mean, in addition to that, I mean, you had no extended family
No.
or her family or
Nobody. I had
It
no
was just
place,
the two of you.
no place to go. She was a Swiss, native-born Swiss. She wasn't Jewish either. Very wonderful person. We were married for 64 years till I lost her.
How old was she when she died?
In 88 or so. She was,
Too young.
yeah, 88.
Too young to go.
Yeah, well, we think so. Well, I made it into the 90s,
I don't know how I
and I still function fine. I can drive at night.
I think you're an amazing man. And a wonderful guy.
Well,
You
thank
even invited us to stay at your house.
Well, of
It's
course.
incredible.
Well, what are we in this world for, if not for making each other comfortable?
Yeah.
We are here on the revocable lease. A revocable lease, you know what that is.
Wait, say that again? I didn't hear that.
We are on this earth on a revocable lease.
Oh.
A lease is
Yes.
leasing a house or leasing something, and it's revocable because we don't know when the lease runs out, which means we don't know when we leave.
Yeah.
So while we are here, we are guests.
It's a perfect analogy.
I made it up myself. We are on the
You're a creative
revocable
guy.
lease, and we have to do the best we can to keep ourselves and others happy, because it doesn't last forever. We're going back to where we came from, and we're arrogant, full of illusions, by thinking we control the earth. That's a crock. That's a terrible arrogance. The earth controls us, whether we like it or not.
I have a question I'd like to ask you. I don't know if we could do it in 2 minutes left on here.
Yeah.
But what would your advice be to, if you were to speak at a young people's convention about your life?
I do a lot of this public
What?
speaking. They want me always, because I have no script. I talk extemporaneously.
That's good. So what do you tell young people today?
To enjoy life, but not misuse it.
Yes. Oh, that's good. That's enough.
I just made this up here out of thin air.
But that's what it amounts to.
Well,
mean,
I can sound articulate
Yes.
because I had a lot of speaking to do, and I don't have a script, because if you read a script, your voice becomes monotonous. Da 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 da.
You turn people off when you
People
speak.
fall asleep, even though you may say nice things. You have to modulate your voice. You have to sound interesting, and you have to keep their attention. If you see they sit like this, you know you're lost. You're off the
You made
tracks.
somebody happy. You made someone fall asleep.
Yeah, well,
And they,
you're dull,
yeah.
and you don't see anything that interests them.
Peter, listen, I want to thank you so much for sitting for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let me stop this. That's my son calling. Hello? Hello? Oh,
It's not on, huh?
that's probably him.